to have you back. Yes, this is still Rise and Shine with you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. And of course, talking about cruise line schools and all of that, we look forward, like we said before now, to the white papers and the outcome of the investigations as ordered by the Lagos State government. And moving away from that, Francis, a lot of persons have continued to, throw themselves into the race of the 2023 elections, specifically for the presidential position. And one of such persons is Dr. Chris Ngige, who happens to be the Minister of Labor and Productivity. Though he's yet to, formally declare his intentions, but he has spoken over the weekend when he was, met at the airport that he was going to, make his intentions known to the public on Monday, which of course I looked at for that event and didn't see it coming.
Well, Chris Ngige is just like every other politician,
Mm.
and I think what is playing out. I think at this point we're looking at an era where politicians choose to keep Nigerians in suspense. They keep just postponing and postponing until probably they see the coast is clear. Ngige has been rumored to be one of those who was vying for the office of the presidency. And over time, a lot of persons have been, expecting him to come out officially to tell Nigerians that he is contesting for that office. But one way or the other, he's always find a way to avoid officially telling us what he intends to do and possibly what he's bringing to the table. And yes, in as much as is one of the ministers under the President Buhari administration, I think he's had the opportunity to serve for 2 terms now as the Minister of Labor. And so far, he's been one of the vocal voices trailing the place for a lot of development, especially when we've seen with the issue of ASU and the students and other issues in Nigeria. So one would expect that eventually, when he announces his entrance into the race officially by Monday, which never happened, we are hoping that within the week, I mean, the week is still young, that he would definitely do that. But then, just like every other politician, until we hear from him what he has for the Nigerian people, we can't really begin to comment on his person. But we can look at his credentials and the
Yeah,
post he has
talking
he
about
has
his
occupied so far.
credentials, yes, he has what's it called? He has experience because he was one time elected the senator for Anambra Central, and then that was when he actually contested with late Mrs. Dora Akunyile, then NAFTA DG voice, and of course he came out top and he became the senator Anambra Central. And looking at his antecedents and his impact during this is 2 year tenure as the Minister for Labor and Employment, you would understand that quite a lot has gone on. And though Nigerians will still stand to say that in terms of employment, we've not seen that coming really. I think the federal government of Nigeria has not declared, except for parastatals like NSCDC, like the Nigerian Road Safety, and others, some of those probably military that recruited. Not much recruitment has been done under this administration, and also you would agree that to a large extent he has been the middleman between the federal government and ASU in the ongoing fight between ASU and the federal government.
Yes, Ngige has been one of the most strong voices when it comes to the issue between ASU and the federal government. And going by his, credential, this is a public service servant to the core, and he has served in different categories. He has served in different positions in government. He has won several awards for good governance. When he traces his history in Anambra State as a governor, he won award as one of the best performing governors in Nigeria as a then. And then walking away from that during his tenure as a senator representing the Anambra people, he also made some giant strides achievement that led to the liberation of the Anambra people, like the indigents of the state would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, you're looking at a personality that has shown over time consistency in his leadership ability and capabilities. You're looking at a leader who has gone through the different angles of the ministry. You're talking about somebody I've saved in the health department, somebody I've saved in hospital department, the health department, somebody has served from the tax force, completion of the university, from the educational sector. You're looking at somebody who has saved um, outside from the university department, from the health sector. You're looking at somebody who has given also his service to the economic sector of the Nigerian economy. So he's an all-rounded personality. He's an all-rounded leader. He's a versatile personality that Nigerians would say has the credibility, has the heart, and is selfless to a large extent. And if given the opportunity, if he eventually, when he eventually, announces his entrance into the race, that he stands a good chance, just like a lot of the contenders.
Yes, away from the fact that a lot of Nigerians were expecting that Nigerians would, the Southeasterners would come up with a consensus candidate to represent the interests of the Southeast at a time like this. Contrary to that, we have seen quite a number of people from the Southeast extraction of the South now throwing themselves into the presidential race. If you look at the All Progressives Congress, the standpoint of President Muhammadu Buhari before now, he had said at different forums, even before during his campaign in 2011, that he was going to hand over to an Igbo president or an Southeast or Igbo president of Southern extraction. Then that being the case, from all body language, from all what's going on, the zoning arrangement under the All Progressives Congress actually favors the Southeast. However, the People's Democratic Party do not seem to, come to a very concrete resolution on that. We have heard when they said, okay, the party's ticket will be zoned to the Southeast. And then again, another argument came that, well, having it to the Southeast would not guarantee them a win at the general elections. So they decided to throw it open, in as much as there are a lot of controversy surrounding that decision, because quite frankly, a lot of persons still believe that is not being done to the Southeast. But looking at people coming out from the Southeast, regardless of the political party they are affiliated with, you could see the likes of Hope Uzodinma, Governor Hope Uzodinma, and now Chris Ngige, former Governor Peter Obi. You see top names, and Dr. Chris Ngige is one person that has contested for the governorship of Anambra State over time. I think more than 2 times. Yes, he has done that, and then quite unfortunately he couldn't win, and then he went for Senate, and then he won. You would agree, based on the profile that you've just started out, that he has gathered experience both as an administrative person in the private sector, and then he feels it's about time that he serves the country. If you look at the Igbos, they thrive in entrepreneurship. They thrive in creating jobs. In fact, you will call them the Japan of Nigeria, because they produce basically almost a lot of things that is being used in Nigeria. They are basically involved in importation, unlike agriculture, which the northern has taken, dominant. The northern Nigeria is dominating agricultural space. When you talk about commerce and industries, then you'll find it in Igbo. Then in Nigeria, when we're talking about diversifying our economy from oil and looking at how we could create, other aspect of the economy, having a Southeast president at this point, I think might be a lot of good for Nigerians, judging by what they are known to be doing in terms of their specialty.
Well, before now, a lot of persons have argued about the fact that Nigeria has never utilized the level of creativity that we found in the East, especially the Igbo axis of the nation. We've not been able to effectively utilize the talents that we have in that aspect. We've not been able to invest, adequately to bring out this talent to the front burner. You're looking at brands, clothing brands, you're looking at shoe brands, you're looking at a lot of brand that has to do with accessories. I mean, the basic things that we have in life, apart from food and shelter, the next thing that defines a man is clothing. And that clothing goes all round to the accessories that we have that makes us look out and stand out as a person, as an individual. And these brothers from the East, the Igbos, as you would call them, they've over time perfected the art. I grew up hearing that as long as it is in a bar, or niche, whatever it is you want, if it is not in existence, be ready, they can fabricate it for you. So if these are persons who sometimes, do not have any formal education, but they are able to make these materials available to us. The average Igbo person travels around the world, like we saw in the movie Braveheart. I think it travels around the world without necessarily sometimes having what you would call a formal education. But the fact that he or she doesn't have a formal education sometimes is no limitation, because this certain person is able to travel around the world, is able to communicate with different foreign international all across the world, and is able to interact and do business transactions, and then sustainably grow that business from one stage to the other. So if the federal government, if the government of Nigeria were to be proactive enough, then these are the kinds of sections of the nation that a lot of massive investment would have been pumped into in order to diversify the country's economy, because that would not only push. I think there was a time Nigerian fashion designers were clamoring for a push to export the Nigerian fabrics, to export the Nigerian designs, to export the Nigerian creativity when it comes to attires and how these clothes are made. You find that we have Nigerians abroad who would want to wear the Nigerian fabric, who would want to wear the Nigerian style, but the styles are not there. So when they go to shops, they go to boutiques, they can't find the Nigerian fabric. What do? They simply settle for what is available. So, but if we have proper investment that allows the quality of fabrics that comes from the Nigerian country, that comes from this side of our brothers, that is enough to compete with the fabrics that we have, capable of competing with the designs that we have outside of the shores of Nigeria, then that would be another a foreign exchange revenue for Nigeria, because we'll be exporting something, and of course that will tell on our gross domestic product. And then, like we said, about yesterday when we were talking about heritage, I think the Nigerian government at this point need to grow past whatever sentiment, whether ethnic or religious, whatever barrier stands against developing the different strong natural talent, creative ability that we find in the different parts of the country, in order to have a multiple source of foreign revenue for the country. And apart from the clothing side, or the about people that we talk about, the business and fabrication and tourism, where we have the agricultural sector. And yes, like you rightly mentioned, the north is significantly involved or responsible for a lot of agricultural produce that we have. But that doesn't negate the fact that across the different, the nook and crannies of Nigeria, we have different states with different strong agricultural produce. For instance, we know that Akwa Ibom is basically about palm fruit and seafoods. So if we have proper investment in this sector, then diversifying the country's economy would not be a thing that would need so much work to be done, but it just be a matter of investing the right money to the right hands, and then we get to have the results.
Yes, it has been said that since 1999, the Southeasterners have not gotten a free chance to, mar or saddle their face of Nigeria in terms of, leading as the president of Nigeria. And at this time in 2022, as we build up to 2023, a lot of persons are agitating for that to come through. And you have rightly highlighted most of those reasons because, they have very rich in commerce, very rich in entrepreneurship. And you have mentioned some of the benefits that can be benefited, that Nigeria could benefit. Perhaps they decide to, give the Southeast a chance. However, from different quarters, there seems to be different different opinions coming through. And at the moment, what's trendy is the tweet from the Winners Chapel GO, Pastor David Oyedepo, who has actually said that he does not trust the Igbos, that Nigerians have short memories. Now, that's another controversy coming into play because away from that development that is just coming through a few hours back, you would understand that Chris Ngige, amongst other aspirants from the southeast, had a greater opportunity of, coming out as the party's flag bearer of any political party. Because I feel to a large extent that even within the People's Democratic Party, going by what the South governors forum under the People's Democratic said, that power should come back to the South, it would have been agreed that it would be zoned to the southeast, regardless of the fact that some South governors like Governor Yesum Wike and Governor of Akwa Ibom State are already they have already declared interest, and they are already they've put themselves in the race already. But you would agree that there's so much that Nigeria stands to benefit. Look at Nigeria as we are as a country. We are still struggling with trying to, in as much as the northern Nigeria is having they are striving, they are leading the pace in terms of agriculture, but we cannot make boast of a particular agricultural produce that we are supplying, that we have sufficiently been able to supply at the local market, and we have enough to export at the international market. But if you look at commerce and industries, of which the Igbo extraction of Nigerians are predominantly engaged in, you would see that there's a viability of having a shoe line across this country. There's a viability of having a lot of even cloth lines. You see, the thing is, they brought in these stores and they lit the pace. You look at, there was a time in this country where virtually all movies, if you pass through one person's house, you would know that they're watching American movie, where they'll be shooting guns and all of that. But the narrative changed when the Igbos decided to get into entertainment, and they started producing all the Nollywood movies that we're seeing now. And Nollywood, as we speak, is becoming, is, I think it's the third largest movie industry in the world over. So now that is putting Nollywood in the global space, competing extremely well with countries like with the movie industries like Bollywood and Hollywood. And then look at another angle, like fashion designing. There was a time in this country where if you have a major event like African Magic Viewers Choice Award, you hear designers like Louis Vuitton and all of that. They get their dresses from the US. But look at what we have now. The fashion industry has grown massively, and we have people, flying, wearing designs of Nigerian designers, wearing dresses made by Nigerian designers and all of that. So Nigeria at this point is no longer dependent on foreign designs, on the foreign designers to supply them clothes like it used to be before now. And you talked about African print. Look at what Nigerians have made of African prints, thanks to the commerce and the entrepreneurship skills of the Southeasterners. And away from that, if you look at maybe perhaps another angle like training and skill acquisition, that of course Nigerian government is still struggling a lot with, is something that the Southeasterners achieve seamlessly without any effort. So you see that if this kind of technology skill is being replicated in Nigeria by having a Southeastern president, you might see the viability of actually being able to diversify economy and have exports while being able to feed the domestic market. It's a possibility. That is an argument from another angle. But I want to believe that at this point, where Nigeria is preaching unity, when Nigeria is talking about unifying the country, a statement like that of Pastor David Ibiomie of the Winners Chapel Church would not at this point, bring chaos, or maybe incite some form of ethnic, would I say, argument in the public space.
Well, already you've already stated the obvious. For a pastor coming out to say that we cannot trust the Igbos, I mean, it's like one of the worst statements that can possibly come from the pulpit. It's one thing for an ordinary person to stand up and speak based on ethnic bias. It's another thing for a man of God, reportedly, or a person who wears that tag, a man of God who's supposed to be above ethnic, tribal sentiment, coming out to make such derogatory statement. But then we could also argue from this other point of view. If you're saying that we cannot trust the Igbo, who can we really trust when it comes to trust issues? I mean, we've had the Hausas, we've had the Yorubas. Nigerians have been practically exposed to these two crops of leaders consistently leading the nation over time. And so far, we've had little or nothing to show for it. So if you're saying we cannot trust the Igbo, one or two ways one could possibly act that is because like a lot of person would say back then in Akwa Ibom said that before the advent of the then governor Godswill Akpabio, Akwa Ibom was not exposed to quality road network, was not exposed to seeing flyovers, we're not exposed to seeing a lot of infrastructures, that came to be in existence. So one might be wondering, are you saying we cannot trust the Igbos because you fear if you give an Igbo person the opportunity to lead Nigeria as the president, that the landslide achievement that is going to come into play, the economic advancement that is going to come into play at the end of the day, the diversification of the country's economy, the different policies that will be put in place would so transform Nigeria that it would be near impossible for maybe a northerner or an eastern to come up and then be able to beat that achievement status. That is one angle to look at it, and the other angle, we have to talk about trust. It comes from a two-way thing. If somebody has trust issues, then it definitely tells on how you relate with the next person. So if a pastor is coming out to tell us that we cannot trust the Igbo person, then it therefore means the pastor himself is not trustworthy. So if you're speaking from an ethnic point of view, as a Christian, as a member of the body of Christ, who should be at this point promoting unity, promoting peace, and speaking against divide based on ethnicity or tribal difference, then you leave a lot to be desired when it comes to your Christianity or whatever you practice or preach as a man of God.
Well, you would understand that he's coming from the angle of the agitation by the indigenous people of Biafra, to, get some form of independence. They're looking at having the Biafran nation, and you also have to understand that the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra is currently under the police custody of the federal government of Nigeria, which of course they're still agitating for his freedom. And then on that backdrop, just recently, that was resolved by the incumbent governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, who actually annulled and stopped
The sit at
the
home
sit at
order.
home order that was predominant on Mondays in the southeast in agitation for the Biafran nation. On that backdrop, I think the pastor might somewhat be, speaking under the concern that perhaps if the Igbos have a chance to maybe, mind their face of the country as the number one citizen, that might be a viable tool to, have a split of nation. That could be one of the thoughts in his mind. Perhaps not. But then you would understand in such case scenario, and also going by history, what happened during the Nigerian Civil War, what happened when Ojukwu and Gowon engaged in a fight for supremacy. You would also understand that that issue is yet to be resolved, and a lot of Southeasterners still hold that dear. And in as much as they're still trying to fuse themselves into Nigeria, some persons from some quarters might still be scared of their sincerity to that. But again, on another angle, one would be tempted to see that, okay, if perhaps they want to submerge the IPOP or maybe kill the IPOP agitation, to maybe embrace one Nigeria as it is now, because a lot of them, including their state governors who are also there, and the senators representing each of those senatorial districts in the southeast who are in the Senate, they have all come to an agreement. Because I recall the Ndibo group where I came up to say, yes, they have accepted to, clamp down the sit-at-home order. They have accepted to talk terms and dialogue with the federal government. If they are denied the opportunity at this point in time because of some sort of would I say unbelief, for lack of a better word, that they might be sincere with their purpose, it could still go ahead to bring in more chaos or more agitations, still based on marginalization. That has been the case. So it's a case of the river or the deep blue sea.
Well, I quite beg to differ at this point. It's not a case of the river and the deep blue sea. Before now, Nigeria has always been that country that a lot of person would say was forced together by the colonial masters. But however, the fact and the reality that we were forced together, I think over time Nigerians have also come to accept the fact that we are better off united. But that better of united front can only work when the federal character that is enshrined in our constitution is put to use. When developmental structures, when infrastructural development, when policies and implementations, when laws are made that ensure that every facet of the Nigerian community is well represented in terms of development, in terms of policy, in terms of representation. And if you trace down, if you have to trace the issue of the agitation, whether by hip hop or the then Niger Delta Avengers or whatever, other um, opposing factions seeking to divide or break away from the Nigeria and become an entity itself, it all can be traced down to the fact that over time these people who have been a part of the country have been denied, they have been abused, they have been segregated upon, and then there have been several attempts to talk, to dialogue, to put up their voices and say, okay, we are being marginalized. We are not being treated as a part of Nigeria. We are not being given a due rights and privileges are being, trampled upon. We are not having, the political representation that we need or that we deserve as a community that is also a part of Nigeria. And these are all legitimate, opinions. These are all legitimate claims. I mean, even if it were to be the Easterners, they would still probably agitate for the same thing. Don't forget, we have Sunday Gallows also agitating for a Yoruba nation. So it all boils down to that marginalization. So where marginalization is being taken care of, where you begin to have equal representation of the different aspects of the Nigerian community, where you begin to have the federal character play out in the different political appointment, in the different MDAs of the federal government, we will see a complete turnaround from all of the agitations that are coming up. Because if you do that, you would not give the Igbos the right to say we are being segregated upon, we are being abused, our rights are being trampled on, and so we want to break out and be ourselves so we can have our freedom and liberty. You would not have the Yorubas coming out to say we want to break out and stand out. You would not have any other part of the Nigerian community come out to fight to break or be separated from the Nigerian state as an entity. So the best way at this point in time is not to champion another ethnic comment, another what might be or could be described as an hate speech, what could trigger another spate of violence. Already right now, if you look at the situation in Anambra State with Governor Soludo, in as much as we're still having those in between fracas between the IPOB and other elements. I recall the IPOB spokesperson coming out to say that IPOB were in full support of what Governor Soludo is doing and that they agree to the end to the sit-at-home order. But you have some other criminal element who are, masquerading themselves as members of IPOB, trying to cause mayhem in disguise or in the name of the IPOB. So this goes to show that these persons understand before now the essence of the damage to which the sit-at-home order has done to the economy of Anambra State, for instance. And they know that at the end of the day, it is not the federal government that you're punishing. It is the people of Anambra State. It is the people who live and do business in Anambra State that you are punishing. So they have come to that agreement. They have come to that realization. And that is why they are backing Governor Soludo to end the sit-at-home order. Well, the best way to sort the issue is to give everybody their due rights as sons, daughters of the Nigeria society. When you do that from the government level, then you will be able to sort out whatever agitation. If you take away the reason, you take away the cause for the agitation would naturally die a natural death.
Well, talking about analyzing their chances and doing justice and equity and taking out those reasons, let's look at some of the possible advantages Dr. Chris Ngige might have heard of other aspirants that have already thrown themselves into the presidential race, some of which we already know that Governor David Moyo of Ebonyi State is there from that angle. And we know Governor Rotimi Amici is also contesting, who also recently have said that he should be seen as an Igbo person, because typically an Equatorial person is an Igbo man. So that if he is denied, or if he is not perhaps not seen as an Igbo person, it would be, would I say, a fault from perhaps the people or thereabout. But officially, as we going forward, former Governor Rotimi Amechi is an Igbo man, so he's contesting under that platform. Then we've seen his interest now awaiting a declaration. We've also seen the likes of former governor of Imo State, Roger Okorocha, also still vying for the presidential position. One common unifying factor about all of them is the fact that they are young at heart. Like Dr. Chris Ngige, by 8th of March, he will be 60. And a 60-year-old person in Nigeria is deemed as a young person, right? That now don't laugh about that. But then it's even I know you've been in this country for years, and you know that there was a time in this country where we have a 70-year-old person as the youth president or youth leader of a political party. I think maybe perhaps we've gone past that phase, because this year we've seen nominations and we've seen people emerge, younger faces emerge as youth leaders, and quite surprisingly, the 25-year-old in People's Democratic Party, which of course they stand to hold that prestigious as being one of the most youth-friendly political parties across in Nigeria for now. But well, you would know that they are all young first, but the president is yet to make any comment as to who he prefers to succeed him. I recall when the president granted an interview to some newsmen that he did say that he has a preferred aspirant, which of course, if he mentions his name, then he might be taken out of the race. Perhaps the person is a new entrance, is making a new entrance into politics. Perhaps the person does not have the momentum, but then the president is still quiet, as almost all his ministers from these extractions are throwing themselves into the presidential race, and they are still yet to resign, regardless of the order that was done by the presidency, that if you're vying for any political office and you're still holding another, that you should resign. It's an issue.
Well, like you would always say, Nigeria is a country where everybody obey constituted authorities, and we pay respect to the law, whether or not you're from the elite or not. It's really a fortunate situation that you have a person within the political position of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria coming out to issue a statement which is in line with the constitution, which is in line with the newly signed electoral bill. And then weeks down the line, none of his cabinet members has actually taken the decision to resign, and yet there is no counter reaction from the presidency. There is no punitive measures lashed out by the president. There is nothing to cushion or tell Nigerians that the president is dedicated to ensuring that the right thing is being done at the right time within the right context. And then you're still going to have these personalities, standing above the law of the land. You're still going to have these personalities thinking that they are untouchable. You're still going to have these personalities, walking off boldly, arrogantly sometimes, without necessarily caring whether or not the law will catch up with them. And yes, the personality of Chris Ngige, we'll have to look at what he possibly might have, even though he has not, officially declared. Some group of Nigerians believe that, as a medical doctor himself, that if we should have a president who knows and has experienced the medical profession, that one of the areas Nigeria is going to possibly witness significant transformation will be in the medical sector. And then, of course, the educational sector, which he has recently, paid keen interest to. And now, going by these two issues, you look at the medical infrastructural development or medical issues in Nigeria is like one of the major biggest challenge that we have as a country, as a people. I think recently Dr. Ihenere came out to say that the doctor-patient ratio in Nigeria is about one doctor to about 10,000 Nigerians, and you can say that is below, way below expectation. Is a terrible situation. And then you look at the infrastructures in the medical facilities. One cannot say that across the different local governments scattered all over Nigeria that you have a medical facility in each of those local government that is functional, that the people within the rural community can actually go there to access quality medical services. So if a president is coming on, on a rider like that with a promise and a guarantee that as a medical practitioner, as a doctor who has experienced what the industry is like, and also knows the potential of having a functional medical facility, or the state of the art medical facility, and of course, competent hands to man those facilities, that would be another angle of generating revenue for Nigeria. And then you move away to educational system. For somebody who has advanced and championed the cause, or is currently advancing for asked to go back to the academic environment, and for the federal government to do the needful, it is also something that is expected that he could bring the needed, the much touted desired change in the educational system of the Nigerian people. And these two strong points is what the Nigerian people are thinking might be the angle where Dr. Ngige is going to come out while declaring for the position of presidency. But then going back to the trend of thought I kickstarted with, talking about the situation where President Muhammad Buhari is yet to announce his candidate of choice. Politics is one funny game that you just cannot predict what is going to happen, and especially for the person of President Muhammad Buhari. I think he's being careful, and like you'd rightly point, just perhaps the president's preferred candidate is a newcomer in the game. Maybe somebody that even within the cabinet they would least expect that the president would settle for the personality. But regardless of that, I think at this point all we have to do is anticipate and wait, hopefully, and hope that before the primaries kickstarts, that the president is actually going to come up. And above all, for the people who are within the APC, some of them believe and expect that whoever the president chooses at the end should be somebody who is capable, somebody who is credible, somebody who has the historical background to deliver within the party and outside the party and to Nigerians, because as we speak, the APC still want to retain power.
Well, of course, the APC wants to retain power. Who wouldn't want to in the first place? And understanding that they want to retain power, you would also see, you mentioned education. Truth of the matter is that Dr. Chris Ngige has gone the long way to trying to defend his, belief on Nigeria and his passion to create the needed change in Nigeria. A lot of persons are impressed by what he did, because at several forums he has announced that his children all school here. And for a public servant, a former senator of Nigeria, who is currently, acting as the Minister for Labor, he has the money, personal funds that he can ensure to send his children to acquire the best of education outside this country. But he chooses to sit and see that education in Nigeria functions well, and he wants his children to school here. I think that is one bullet point that he has successfully created for Nigerians, and it's working for them because a lot of Nigerians seems to be applauding him for that particular gesture, which of course, like you said, might be one of the one of his agenda, or one of the agenda on his agenda that he might possibly be bringing forward whenever he chooses to declare interest. And frankly, there are still a lot of persons who were rumored to have had interest to join the presidential race that are still yet to declare interest. One of which is the embattled governor of Cross River State, Governor Benayade. Everyone believes he might be the missing link that the president is just waiting for. I hope that the days are fast coming, as it is already, and the Nigerians are anticipating to know which way the president is heading to. But one unique feature of the president as we speak is that President Muhammadu Buhari is known for his silence, and he's a very quiet person. And once he speaks, it's done. It took him a long time to say a word about the controversy within the All Progressives Congress, and it took him less than 24 hours to get that settled. So we hope and pray that when the time comes, perhaps before the primaries begin next month, that the president will actually let loose what he's been holding back from the public for a long time now. That's talking about his preferred choice of succession.